Hey people, it is Pinnacle. How you doing? Today we are going to look at rolling wormholes. Now, how do we do this? Well, first of all, we need to know what a wormhole is and how a wormhole is structured. So, a wormhole is a warp in time and space. Basically, it's a hole that over time collapses and under pressure collapses. You put pressure on a wormhole by putting mass through that wormhole. So a wormhole will connect to solar systems or to areas of space. We have two static wormholes. We have a C2 and we have a C3. Now, both of the masses of these wormholes are 2 million tons. So we need to put 2 million tons through that wormhole for it to collapse. Now let's have a look here. You can see that our C2, which will be rolling now, is an N766. And you can see in Pathfinder what we're actually dealing with here. Our C2 is a N766, which was on that chart. And we go to that chart, it tells us it's 2 million. Okay, so we need to put 2 million through that hole to roll it. But we do not want to get rolled out. So the last of the mass needs to be put on the return journey. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, we get ourselves a nice battleship. Now the Praxis is probably the easiest one to jump into because it only requires Spaceship Command 1. Now to fit the Praxis, it obviously requires a little bit more, few more skills. We definitely want to have a scanner just in case we get rolled out. We definitely want to have a cloak because when you jump through a wormhole, you are polarized, which means you can jump back, but you can't make a return trip again until your polarization has completed. And that's usually a count of about, I think it's about 2 minutes. It may be more, it may be like 3 or 4 minutes, but I'll double check that. We can check that in a bit. So we definitely want a cloak and we definitely want a scanner. The main thing we need is this baby. It's a Higgs anchor. Now, what does a Higgs anchor do? A Higgs anchor increases your mass of your ship by 100%. We need our ship to be around about 200,000 tons. So this is pretty close to the mark. I think I've seen a Tempest, you can get a Tempest up around 299 or something like that. But, sorry, 199. But this is pretty good. 195 is pretty good. Anywhere, around, well, anywhere above 190 is good, but keep it below 200. Now, one thing I didn't mention before, and I'll carry on talking about the fit in a minute, the wormholes have a tolerance. They're not always 2 million. Well, our particular wormhole is not always 2 million. It has a 10% tolerance. It could be 2.1 or it could be 1.9, which makes it a little bit tricky when you're trying to calculate how to roll the hole or how to crit the hole. Now, critting and rolling require both maths, but I'll go over the equations in a minute. So continue talking about how to get our ship to 200,000 tons. We can put some plates on. Now, plates are the other thing that hold mass or make mass. So you can see we're making mass here. Now, we need the ship to be 200,000 cold. And when I say cold, I mean not running a micro warp drive, because what a micro warp drive does is it adds mass. You can see here it adds 50,000 or 50 million kilograms. But remember, the Higgs anchor will double that. So when we actually go into simulation, we can see that with the micro warp drive off, we've got the 1.95. With it on, we're up to almost 300,000 tons. Okay, so that's what we want to get to. We want to get to a cold of less than 200, more than 190, and the hot will naturally be 100 more. Okay, so enough of the ship now. We're going to undock and we are going to warp to our C2. The first thing you want to check before doing any rolling or before jumping is the status of the hull. Quick scan to make sure no one's around. Are we good? C2 warp to 0. Now, because I'm going in and out several times, I don't want to be sitting around on the hole. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure we do a bookmark. Second thing I'm going to do is make sure I've got scanner probes. Yes, because that would be very bad if I didn't. And we're going to call this ping C2. See, I've done that before. We call it ping C2 static. When you see the wormhole appear here, we'll click submit, and we will be about 1,000 kilometers away from the hole. Bang, there we go. 1,400 is my guess. Let's check. Where's the ping? 1,100. Okay, misleading. Right. So the first thing we do, check the status of the hole. We can see here the ID 766, which tells us the mass. When again we look at that spreadsheet over here, tells us the mass is 2 million. Okay, we've got that. So it's beginning to decay. Not worried about that. This is the bit we need to worry about here. The wormhole has not yet had its stability significantly disrupted, which basically means it's still at stage, I'd say stage 3, right? Or stage 1, let's say stage 1. Some people say stage 3, some people say stage 1. The opposite of this would be crit, and the bit in the middle means it has had it disrupted, but it's still okay. So to get this to a level of where we know how much mass we've got left, we are going to jump cold once. And jumping cold means we're at 0, not using a micro warp drive, we're jumping cold once. So we jump. Then I get ganked. No, I'm kidding. Hopefully not. Let's see. Okay, no one on the hole. Right, so now we are going to go reapproach the hole. Never click jump when you're this far out with micro warp drive. Just always approach the hole first, because you don't know what's going to happen. And you don't want to jump through the hole and forget what you're doing, etc. So we're going to check the status of the hole again. The wormhole has not yet had its stability significantly disrupted. That's exactly where we want to be. We are now going to jump through hot, and we will see why in a minute. And what we are hoping for is that we get exactly the same status. The status does not change. When a wormhole goes to half mass, it will change to has been disrupted. When a wormhole has 300, or is it no? When a wormhole has 10% left on it, it will be crit. So they're the 3 stages. The normal stage is not yet disrupted. The second stage is I can't remember what it's called now. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Something like it has been abused, let's say. That's not the wording, but it's something like that. We'll get to that in a minute. So it has been downgraded a little bit, but it's not yet at a critical level, basically, put it that way. That's what it says. So we're almost approaching the hole. We are going to jump through hot here. So under 5k we can just click. We will click jump. There we go. And it will be ready any second to jump through. Now we've jumped through hot, micro warp drive still going. Right, so the first thing we're going to do, because we are polarized now for another 3 minutes. So I think it's a 5-minute polarization timer. We're going to warp to our ping. Where's our ping? I put it here. Okay, let's move that out of there into tacticals. We're going to warp to our ping, and then we are going to cloak up and wait for that timer. What we're also going to do is going to check the status of the hole. Again, not yet had its stability significantly disrupted. It's exactly where we want to be. Okay, I'm going to pause now. I'm going to cloak up just here, and I'm going to pause now. I'm going to come back when that timer is almost 0 in a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm coming back just a little bit early because there's something I just want to share with you briefly. There is this rolling guide which is very good for beginners and for starters, and we can see that our hole here, N766, is 2 million tons. So we've got it here, all right? If you want to, and this is the process we're doing at the moment. We're doing 2 cold jumps and 2 hot jumps. Is the hole reduced, right? That's usually the order you do it in, but I would always recommend doing a cold out and a hot in, because you've got a better idea of where you are. Now, one thing to remember here, and by the way, once we've done that, we should see the status of the wormhole. It's always worth checking the status at each stage if you don't know how much mass has gone through it. If it's a fresh hole, do it this way. If it's been alive for a day and people have been coming in and out, always check it. Make sure you know the status of the hole, etc. Now, one thing I should warn you, or should say, is that once your hole gets busy, sounds a bit dodgy, but hey, once your hole starts getting a bit busy and you've got lots of corpies in there and lots of friends in there, etc., doing bits and pieces, jumping back and forth to Empire, etc., you need to make sure that everyone is aware that you are rolling the hole. Now, it would usually be very quick to roll the hole with 4 praxis. Very quick. What we don't want to do is we don't want to have everyone just jumping through and you don't know whether someone's gone through hot, someone's gone through cold. You need to have a hole commander. You need to have someone who is in charge of the hole, right? The hole control. So he will be given, or she will be given, or they will be given permission for you to jump through, and they will tell you to jump through hot or come back cold, or jump through cold, come back hot. They will tell you what to do. You must listen to them because they're the one that's working it out in their heads. And if we screw up, we'll have a praxis left on the other side. The hole will be completely gone when we only wanted to crit it. And now we've got to scan down an Empire route for this guy or girl to get back in, or person to get back in. So let's continue jumping. So far we've done 1 cold, 1 hot. We know that the status is still not disrupted. We're going to jump through cold again. Hopefully the status is still not disrupted. Let's see. Scanner shows we're good. Let's check this. Has not yet had its disrupted, so we're still good, right? Now, we're still going to head towards the hole. We are going to jump back hot, remember. Jump back hot. So we've done 2 colds and 1 hot. This will be our second hot. Just doing a quick scan. No one there. We are jumping through. Now, we want to see the status change here. Let's have a look. The wormhole has had its stability reduced by ships passing through it, but not to a critical degree. That's great. Okay, so let's get ourselves back to the ping, because now we need to wait another 2 minutes. Now, in the meantime, so what does that mean then? And how does this differ? So you will always do the first 4 jumps like that. If you have 2 praxis, you will say, okay, both jump through cold, first one come back through hot, never jump together on the way back. Both jump through cold, first one comes back hot. If the status hasn't changed, first one comes back hot. If the status has changed, then the whole controller is going to need to work that out. And he's going to have to think to himself, okay, so what have we done so far? What's the mass? What's the critical point? What's the change point? And how do we need to progress doing this? At some stages, if you want to roll the hole and you have crit the hole on the way back and it hasn't rolled, you are going to need a hick. Now, a hick is a totally different ball game. It has the ability to reduce its mass greatly, so you can go through the hole with the weight of a feather and come back with the weight of a planet, basically. That's how a hick can differ from a battleship. It still has a Hicks anchor, but it has a device, I can't remember what it's called now, it's been a while. It has a device that you can turn on and make your mass tiny. You used to be able to stack them, but now you can only put 1 on, I think so. Anyway, we have jumped through. The status of the hole has changed. Now, this is, as I said, this is always what we want to do. We want to do 2 cold, 2 hot, check the status. Now, let's bring up that chart. So, we've done these. Has the hole reduced? Yes, it has. So, to roll the hole, we then want to do exactly the same. We want to do 2 cold and 2 hot. Yeah. If we want to crit the hole, in other words, put it in a critical condition so that we want to then go and do some ratting, put our holes in crit so big fleets of battleships can't come in and start killing us, we'll crit the holes. That's what we want to do. But to roll the holes, because we want to get a new chance of a better high sec, we are going to be doing this. If it's not reduced, we've got other options here. To roll the hole, we do 4 hot. To crit the hole, we do 2 hot, 2 cold. So it's pretty simple. When you start getting this into your head, you can understand what you want to do. But always have this as a reference anyway. So anyway, we have done the first stage. We know where we are now. And as I said, we want to roll the hole. So basically, it's reduced. We're going to do 2 hot and 2 cold. We're going to do a cold, hot, cold, hot. So let's warp to the hole again. I always do the hots on the way back. One, because it's more mass, and if it collapses, you're on the right side. And 2, because it's easier for me to warp to a hole on this side at 0. Then I don't need to put the micro warp drive on. On the other side, I'm 8 to 12k away from the hole. So I'll need to use the micro warp drive anyway. So if I'm being lazy, I just put the micro warp drive on and click jump. Okay, so we are going to jump through cold. And on the other side, we are going to micro warp drive to the hole. Checking that the scanner is clear. It is. We will be back once we are on the hole. Okay, we are pretty much back. We're going to leave the micro warp drive on, and we are going to jump through hot. Status won't change. Remember, we have got 1,000 tons. Sorry, 1,000,000 tons. We're going to walk to our safe spot. We've got 1,000,000 tons before the hole changes from fresh to stability reduced. Yeah. Then we have 800,000 tons before it goes into a critical state. So at the moment, it went into a stability reduced at 1,000 after we jumped 1,000 through it. So if you imagine, we went 2 colds, which is around about 400, and 2 hots. Now together they're 600, 600, 400. It's 1,000,000. So we put 1,000,000 tons through it. We're going to cloak up there. So now, so far, we have put 1.5 million tons through it. So it should still be at this stability reduced, but not to a critical degree. Now, if you remember, we needed to do 2 cold and 2 hot. We've done 1 of each now. So we are not expecting it to be crit after we jump through again, because we still have to put 300 back on the hole on the way back, and it only crits at 200. We know that we are going to close the hole on the jump back regardless of what the status is. So just to show you again, the status is still not yet crit when we jump through now. I'm jumping cold. It should not be crit. Okay, let's have a look at the status of the hole. Still not crit, but not crit. So when we jump back through this, I'll quickly do a scan before I decloak. When we jump through this hot, it's going to roll the hole. It's not going to get to that critical stage. Now, if we jump back cold, we are only putting 195,000 tons through it. This hole at the moment has more than 200,000 tons. So we're likely to crit the hole but not roll it. But we are going to jump back hot because we want to roll this hole. So here we go. Jumping back hot. We are going to be on the right side of the hole anyway. Final scan, jumping through. And it takes a couple of seconds, but you should see, have you been trapped inside? There we go. As you pass through the wormhole, you realize it collapses behind you. Have you become trapped? The wormhole has been rolled. Now, the best thing to do is look out for the next signature. Highlight all of these. Easiest way to do it. Get rid of that. And we'll get rid of that ping as well. And we're just going to tap and cloak. Actually, before we cloak, I should have launched the probes before we cloak. Because you will see very soon that another SIG will appear. Now don't forget to go, the reason I've highlighted them all so I can see which SIG comes up, it's easier. Don't forget to go into Pathfinder. We have rolled this hole here. Easiest way to do it is just come in, find the C2, delete the C2. Yeah, we'll go back up here, and then sometimes when you get, see, my mouse is here, but my grid is below. Just refresh that, and your grid's normal again. So we're going to get rid of these now. We've rolled those holes. Delete the systems. Okay. Come back here. Now we'll go back here. There's the new signature, QML. We're going to copy that. Go to Pathfinder. Why can I not scroll down? What's going on here? Oh, it's because I haven't got any system information. QML, we can see QML is not there, so that's a new one. Paste it in there. We know that's going to be a wormhole. We know it's the C2. Yeah. We don't know what system it is yet. And we know what system that one is. That's that. So now we can just go back in. We can say, okay, let's scan that hole. We're going to go through here. Going to cloak again. I know I'm in a praxis. I'm going to scan the hole on the way back to the Astra house, where I will swap out ships. It's just a bit of a shortcut while I'm doing that.